for being here for this course. This is MCS 350 unit and roundtable commissioners working together. Thank you. So we have a lot of people here from the Crossroads of the West Council and from all over the country. So thank you for being here today. My name is Maddie Mayfield. I'm from the Crossroads of the West Council. I live in the Timpanogos district, and I have a girl troop in the Silver Sage district. And I'm the roundtable chair on the National Commissioner Service Team, and I'm delighted to be able to teach this course for you today. So we'll be doing, like I said, MCS 350 unit and roundtable commissioners working together. All right, let me share my screen. So for the course objectives, we'll be talking about understanding how commissioners work collaboratively using the 5 objectives of unit service, summarizing the role that unit commissioners play at roundtables, and recognizing the unique role that roundtables have in identifying unit needs. There is a pretty magical relationship that happens here. So raise your hand if you have unit commissioners who come to roundtable, and raise your hand if they do anything at roundtable. Okay, all right. Raise your hand if you would even know who they are if they came to roundtable. Okay, good. Okay, that's good. That's good. All right. So the 5 objectives of unit service are supporting unit growth, contacting units, linking unit needs, supporting timely charter renewals, and supporting unit leaders. And this goes in conjunction because we're talking also about roundtable with the 4 purposes of roundtable, which are the give and take of information, which kind of fall under collaboration, training, and networking, which is everybody's favorite part, often that meeting after the meeting, the part where you get to talk to each other. So we're going to look at these 5 objectives of unit service and see how they fit into the objectives of roundtable, what happens at roundtable, and how commissioners serve units and serve unit leaders. So because we're already in a breakout, it's very difficult for us to break out into individual groups. So I'm going to have you write into the chat. Instead of breaking up into groups. So this is a brainstorming exercise about how roundtable is unit service. So we're gonna answer the question. So question number 1 is, what does support of unit growth and retention through Journey to Excellence look like? So if you're coming at it from the perspective of a roundtable commissioner, you're going to have one answer, and if you're a unit commissioner, you're going to have a different answer. So what does support of unit growth and retention through Journey to Excellence look like? It's a huge question. Let's answer that with one word. How can you support unit growth through Journey to Excellence, either from the perspective of a unit commissioner or from the perspective of a roundtable commissioner? And if you want to actually answer that instead of putting it in the chat, that's okay.
I just want to mention that JTE seems to be a huge motivator for unit leaders, more than I expect it to be. So often just keeping that visible and forefront in their mind seems to do a good job of promoting that.
Yeah, you know what, it really is. When you make that part of your unit roadmap and you're calendaring things and putting events together for your unit for the year, JTE is a great template to use to make sure that you're hitting all those things that you need to do. Let's see. So we have from Maddie, the perspective, yeah.
There's a couple things in the chat.
Okay, great, go for it.
One comment is encourage involvement in roundtable and other trainings.
Okay.
Training about recruitment. Another one is helping them find needed resources to complete their goals. Mm-hmm. And providing topics to the roundtable commissioner that can help with issues that the unit commissioners see. Mm-hmm. We're using that as a pipeline.
Yeah, definitely. So if it's roundtable night and we know that units need support for unit growth, and we can talk about Journey to Excellence at Roundtable. We can even provide them with a digital or a paper copy, and we can make sure that the unit commissioners are reaching out to them while Roundtable commissioners are talking about how they can benefit from using this as part of their roadmap for growth and for strength. So question number 2, contacting units and capturing in commissioner tools their strengths, needs, and a unit service plan that enables continuous improvement. So I actually just recently in my troop had a visit from our unit commissioner who did a detailed assessment while we were there. But it was the first time in 3 years of being a troop that we just got a unit commissioner. So we were very excited to sit down with them. We treated them like royalty. It was really neat experience. When was the last time you've had a unit commissioner come into your unit and talk to you about your unit service plan and your strengths and your needs? Just anyone that had one recently in the last 3 months? Oh, okay. Well, I mean, we went 3 years, so I'm not saying that all of a sudden we're a model unit with a model unit commissioner, but we're very excited to have a unit commissioner. Yeah, any comments?
We actually haven't had a unit commissioner visit our meeting, but we've been working with them. We're one of a unit that are sponsors 3 different units, and whenever one of the units in that triad is really struggling, and so we're talking together as the 3 troops, as with our CORs, how can we help this one struggling unit with their needs? And having unit commissioner with us in those discussions has been extremely helpful, because we meet on different nights and sometimes the same, I don't remember all, I know 2 of us meet on the same night. And so he can't visit all the troops sometimes because we have conflicting meeting times for him.
Sure.
But having him there help us with these issues has been very, very good.
Yeah, exactly. That happens sometimes. And it's good that they reach out and work with you on a different night and different times. That's excellent. All right, question number 3. How do we link unit needs to district operating committees and other resources? What kind of other resources are we talking about here when it comes to things that the district puts together or that the units can utilize?
You have membership programs, so that would be your campouts, district campouts, events and stuff like that. There's a whole wealth of them. I can't think of all of them right now.
Well, yeah, those are great examples though. So there's unit commissioners can help link units to those resources. Like for a Cub Day Camp, unit commissioners can let units PACs know that they'll be talking about that at Roundtable and getting information about the different day camp opportunities at Roundtable, and so that they can work together with Roundtable and share that information, and linking those needs to district resources like day camp, like membership plans, and like fundraising opportunities.
The systems, the template for passing that information to the committee is kind of set up, and I think if it's not broken, it works fairly well. So if the unit commissioner communicates to their ADC their need, then that gets communicated to the district commissioner who sits on the operational committee, and that information is transmitted to them, and then it comes back in reverse. So but sometimes those pieces are not in place or broken, and then the unit commissioner or ADC, whoever, or the roundtable person needs to move that information in.
Yeah, and often they do anyway. The unit leaders, often the commissioners that they go and talk to, they'll bypass their unit commissioner and go straight to Roundtable, because they know where they will be, when they will be there, and that they'll consistently be there the first Wednesday night of every month at 7 o'clock. And so if they have a question, often they'll take that straight to Roundtable if it's a day camp or a camp or any kind of any kind of question. They'll bring any kind of question to Roundtable because they know that their commissioners are there and that they can get their questions answered. So, all right, next
Maddie?
question. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to mention the networking aspect, right? Yeah, of course, fulfilling needs, whatnot. But I would say, yeah, the networking. For example, if there's a unit that's really looking forward into maybe exploring the radio merit badge. Sorry, I'm really big into the merit badges. Well, doing the roundtable commissioners, you might find those folks that are specialized in that field. Like, for example, here, Frederick, right? Little plug. No, but yeah. So merit badge counselors, right? If there's needs, that you just don't know who, if there's a counselor available, then they're on round table. They're more likely to be able to share those talents with the boys or with the youth. Excuse me.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. I like to talk about merit badges too, so don't worry about that at all. They are interesting and fun, and I love to see scouts working on those and engaging with those. They're pretty remarkable opportunities for scouts.
Marty, and along with that line, sometimes it's advantageous to encourage use of the existing scout tools like Scout Book, which in our council lists all the merit badge counselors in our council based on distance from you. So if you want to find someone who does horsemanship, for example, you can just open it up and say, okay, I want to, who's close to me within this mile range, and Scout Book will actually show you all the contact information directly, and you can link them so they can sign off merit badges directly online without a blue card.
Yeah, that's true.
They're fantastic tools, and if we know what the tools are and the units can use them, fantastic aids. And not all units want to do that, but encourage use of the tools tremendously helps.
Sure, and that would make a great breakout topic at Roundtable and discuss that so that unit leaders know, and then the unit commissioners that are there can take that back to their units, those who weren't there. And so that's a great example of something that scout leaders should know, and then being able to get that information back out to them. It's a fantastic example. Supporting timely unit, district, and council charter renewals. What does that look like in your position? So as a roundtable commissioner, when I'm thinking about charter renewals, I'm thinking about a hot topic in the main session, or a special breakout session for committees to come and talk about charter renewal. What does that look like for you? How would you consider that as from the perspective of Roundtable or the perspective of the unit commissioner? Yeah, Christina.
Hi. So what we did was we dedicated full roundtable sessions to charter renewal. We, because I live in Puerto Rico, and for some people the language also could be a barrier, we took the guides from National, we translated them simultaneously. So the videos and all the resources that are out there, what we did was put together a whole roundtable session. We did a hybrid session. So we had some people attend in person and others connect via Zoom. With the step-by-step on how to handle or manage the new tools, right? Because for lots of people, the transition from just paper to the fully online modules or method of rechartering has been a huge struggle. So we dedicated several roundtables to just this topic. And like I said, in our very specific case, with language being a barrier, we did translate that for people locally, so they could access the tools.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great resource. Great thing to do. Any other comments on this one?
We had an issue last year where we turned in our JTE to our unit commissioner and never went anywhere. And it's really important because they have to sign that off to make sure that as unit commissioners, in my case, we are on top of our units so they know they can trust us and get things done. And actually, ideally sit down with them as they go through and do it and discuss how they're doing. It's disheartening to turn something in and have it go nowhere when you've done all that hard work of putting it together, and you did very well that year, for example.
Right. Yeah, that follow through is very, very important. Right. Any other comments on this one?
I think just going above and beyond, call it duty. So I've had a tough time getting into my, I'm a unit commissioner. I have had a tough time getting in with my scoutmaster and committee chairman to do any type of detailed assessment other than just a simple assessment. But they finally gave me, I've been talking about what you said, JTE, and they sent me to JTE about 3 months ago from 2020. So instead of scratching my head and saying, I went to the district and I got them their certificate and I put it in a frame and I presented it to them at somewhere where I ended up, quote unquote, ambushing them at our Scouting for Food drive because I couldn't get them to respond to me any other way. And I don't know, I didn't see any appreciation or, I don't know if there any reaction from them, but me, I know that I took the extra step to give this to them when I don't believe they were expecting it. And I think that that's something that, I'm not saying that I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, but I think that's something that we all could do, is take that extra step to try to facilitate a relationship with them.
Right. Yeah, definitely. They're a little more difficult than I am. I'll do anything for a patch. Love patches, or certificates, or and the accomplishment of reaching a level in JTE, and that's nice. Okay, number 5. How do we support unit leaders? By collecting and distributing information, enabling program training, and providing networking opportunities. These are some ways that we can support our unit leaders. So how do we support unit leaders at Roundtable? So we'll ask that question first. How do we support them at Roundtable?
Of topics that deal with some of their issues.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I can think of issues that I like, but will that help them? Probably not.
Show up.
Mhm.
Show up at Roundtable. I mean, you got to show up and be there. And, it's important that you're there at places that they are as a commissioner.
Yeah,
You've got to set
definitely.
that example. You can't ask them to go if you're not willing to do so yourself.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I think recognizing them, if there's something to be recognized, right? I mean, that's one of the things. And also, if you know that somebody is, if you know that your unit is lacking in some way, just get the breakout ADC to maybe ask them to, hey, can you do me a favor, include them in something, and maybe they'll be more responsive to that, and that might spur them on to doing something to taking that next step for themselves, where previously they just may be sitting back and being lethargic and apathetic about things.
Right. I definitely think that's true. Inviting people to participate. From the unit commissioner perspective, how do unit commissioners support leaders at Roundtable? What can you do?
Encourage them to attend. Maybe newer unit leaders, they might not even know about Roundtable. Just let them know when it is, what it is.
Yeah, I think that's really true. You've got a new leader, they have no idea what Roundtable is or what happens there. And I know that was true for me when I first started. Was there another comment?
You go sit with them and make them feel welcome. I mean, don't leave them off on an island if they seem uncomfortable with being there. Especially if it's their first or second time. Go sit, shake their hand and, hey, this is how we do things.
And
Sometimes,
roundtable commissioners, oh, sorry, go ahead.
sometimes, Marty, that's the best time to sit down with them one-on-one without the youth being around and early discuss things and get to know them better and so they know who you are. And like Paul says, sit with them, encourage them, and it can make a huge difference. And if you have issues like we had at our last roundtable last Tuesday, Skip Master and I were able to talk with our unit commissioner about some of the issues, and especially with our sister troop, and see what we and get some ideas flowing on who or what we could do to help them out, because we have a vested interest in that. And it being just plain being there is good for them, because they see a face, they know you, and they know they can come talk to you is probably the most important thing.
Right, right. That's one of my favorite things about roundtable is roundtabling, which is a word that I made up about all that collaboration that happens at roundtable. So you can use that word. It's a fake word by Maddie Mayfield. So roundtabling is what we do at roundtable.
Well, you're allowed to make up words like that because you got stripes, right?
I can make up words. I know my teenagers make up words all the time, so it's fair.
Dawn Strong's got her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dawn, yeah, what's your question?
Can we record the roundtables like this is being recorded or during COVID, because some people can't get there that night, or that's their unit meeting night, and they can at least go back and see what occurred?
Sure. So as long as you're following youth protection guidelines, especially if youth are involved, so consider that first. But there are many districts and councils who will record their roundtables and then publish them on YouTube or make them available to watch on social media. I've even seen some roundtables do Facebook Live. It's not as interactive as other ways, but it's, but yes, absolutely. Roundtables can be recorded, again, as long as you're following youth protection guidelines, and then made available so that you can watch them again. The Rainbow Council, they will publish those on YouTube, and then for attendance, if you're working for your Arrowhead, they will have them, if they had to miss, but they can watch it later online, they'll have them write up a little report and then send that in to the roundtable commissioners so that they can verify that they had watched the content. And so that way they could count that for attendance in that meeting. So that's something that they do. That's an idea.
Maddie, I have another question.
Yeah.
So how about specifically right for the unit commissioners at the roundtable settings? Could we, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, could we go to the extent of saying the unit commissioners play kind of a, per se, troop guide role, where they're looking out for those that are new, all the things that we kind of have mentioned here. But say, hey, they're looking for newcomers and trying to get them acquainted and say, oh, okay, well, this is how these work. They're separate sections, and then we'll split up, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And you're just jumping into what's happening next in the course. So it's like, what's happening. So unit commissioners, they attend roundtable, but in addition to that, they can greet people, they can be subject matter experts, they can give the hot topic or the safety moment or lead a breakout session. They can get people where they need to go, they can be the people who answer questions. Utilizing unit commissioners at roundtable is a great way to staff your roundtable. If you're looking for people and you're looking for staff, those unit commissioners can be really helpful at roundtable. Give them a job. Absolutely give them a job. In addition to relaying information back to the unit, they can definitely be put to work at roundtable.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah,
I was going to say,
definitely.
probably the key is getting everybody as involved as possible in order to internalize more of what's being done and,
Right.
the information, right?
Yeah, if they know that they have a role or they've been given an assignment for roundtable, they're gonna show up and they're gonna invite their units, and they'll do their part, and everything will run smoother.
Show more ownership. Cool.
Yeah, definitely show more ownership. Sorry, that one did not want to come out. So unit commissioners, they do all of these things, and then the units feel that connection to their unit commissioner and to Roundtable. But even units without a unit commissioner benefit from those who are there and those that serve at Round. All right. So unit commissioners can also encourage leaders to attend. What is your marketing strategy for Roundtable? Will you throw that in the chat for me really quick? How do you market your Roundtable? And if you're not a Roundtable commissioner, how do you receive the information that Roundtable is happening? What's the way that you receive your information? I love asking this question, and I love getting the answer. Email, texting, great. Information through unit commissioner, that's fantastic. Yeah, sharing it verbally, sharing in person. Council and district calendars, that's great. It's good to know where things are. Social media, these are all great ways to promote your Roundtable. One thing that we recommend for Roundtable promotion is to promote it multiple times per month and multiple ways per month. We know that you have a choice between putting your kid to bed or coming to Roundtable, and we want to make it worth your time. And we also want to remind you, because you have 100 things on your plate, and so multiple reminders during the month are helpful. And then using different methods like email and like face-to-face and like social media and like texting, you're making sure that you are communicating with people in the way that they communicate, because everyone uses communication methods differently. So I know people who only use email and other people who will only use social media or texting. So that's an important thing to think about is how you're advertising your Roundtable. And you want to encourage your leaders to attend, but you also need to meet them where they are, which is why you're going to use all these different methods of communication. So another way to encourage unit leaders to attend, though, is with awards. Like I said, I'll do most anything for a patch. If there's a fun patch, I'll attend the training, or I'll go to the event. I have a huge collection of patches. I love them. The Scouters Training Award includes attending 4 roundtables. There's also the Arrowhead, the Commissioner Arrowhead, where you need to attend a certain number of roundtables. So encouraging them to attend as part of earning these awards can be used. You can emphasize networking with other leaders, and that is the truth. The best part of Roundtable is the meeting after the meeting. Like, raise your hand if you love that part, the part where you get to visit with your friends and you get to talk to each other and enjoy a Cracker Barrel and see each other in person. So that's one of my favorite things. And then unit commissioners can share the Roundtable agenda, the things that are happening at Roundtable, and what's coming up in the district and the council with units. And so they're that liaison between Roundtable and the units. All right. So more about the unit commissioner, and number 5 is to, okay, perfect, is to offer to help at Roundtable. And Pedro, I talked about this a minute ago. They can be a guest speaker. I mean, I can talk all day long about things like fire safety, but I am not as effective as bringing in a firefighter. That they're going to do a much better job and be a lot more interesting. And I can talk all day long about camping, but I know I'm not an expert on that. I'm just a person who does it. I can talk about Cub Scout adventures, but there might be a unit commissioner out there who is like an outdoor leave no trace trainer, and they're gonna do a much better job than I am. So use your commissioners as your unit commissioners as guest speakers. Have them facilitate a breakout, a Cub Scout breakout, a venturing breakout, a Sea Scouts breakout, a Scouts BSA breakout. They can be used to greet attendees. They can host a networking session at the end if you want to divide up, if you're virtual and you want to divide up into different breakout groups, if you will, so that they can ask particular types of questions. Then they can help facilitate those. Can you think of any other ways that you can utilize your unit commissioners at Roundtable? Other than bringing the food at the end, I guess they could bring the food at the end as well, right? They can, you're bringing the snacks. If you have enough unit commissioners, you'll get some really great snacks, but any other ways that you unit commissioners can help at Roundtable? Okay, all right.
Participate,
So,
opening
yeah.
ceremony and stuff like that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's a great addition. I like that comment.
Also
Yeah.
making introductions, you know, saying, hey, this is so-and-so from this unit, so-and-so from this troop. Maybe you guys can meet and, you know, get together.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great idea because they know those people and they're able to provide those introductions. Yeah. So the next activity is, how does a Roundtable commissioner identify unit needs? How do they know? How do they know what a unit needs? How do they know?
We
Can be
pull it out
communicated
there.
by the unit commissioner.
Okay, unit commissioner?
Sometimes it's helpful to actually have a unit commissioner or a commissioner meeting of all the commissioners together in the district. Some districts might do it before Roundtable, some might do it on a different night, but then they can discuss all the issues together and brainstorm as commissioners on how to solve some of these issues and suggestions and resources.
Yeah, definitely. Robert made a comment in the chat about the monthly commissioner meeting. Absolutely. That's another place to find out about what a unit needs. Where else? The networking time after the meeting is often where Roundtable commissioners will get asked that doorknob question. You think you're on your way out the door, but they ask that question and you know you'll be there another half hour trying to answer it or letting them know that you'll come back with that question. And so that meeting after the meeting is often where unit leaders will come with their question and have that answered. If you don't feel comfortable asking it in front of the group, they're going to ask that in the meeting after the meeting. And then you can bring that back to the monthly commissioner meeting and talk with the unit commissioners about that problem and let them know that this is happening or that they had this question and should we use this as a Roundtable breakout? Do you want to bring them information back to their unit meeting? And if it's meaningful, a conversation that a Roundtable commissioner is having with a unit leader, that can be logged in commissioner tools. So if you have a meaningful contact as a Roundtable commissioner, please log those in commissioner tools. Those are great ways for district commissioners to know that you had this meaningful contact, that there maybe was this question and that you addressed it in a particular way, or that they are looking for more information. Did any of our Roundtable commissioners ever log meaningful contacts in commissioner tools? Okay, nice. All right, so Roundtables and unit service. We've been saying this the last couple of years, probably since late 2019. Roundtable is unit service. Roundtable is unit service. I probably say that and write it in something 20 times a week. Roundtable is unit service. So how do Roundtable commissioners help units address their needs?
Through training and discussion.
Yeah, we can provide training at Roundtable as well, and discussion or roundtabling. We can roundtable. That's everyone's favorite part of Roundtable. What else? How can we address their needs? Listening. I guess we'll start with listening. Yeah, Christina.
I like connecting. I like the idea of connecting a need with a resource, right? So your unit needs training. Well, I read that this other district has a session, or I know so-and-so from this other unit that can maybe help you with that. So I like the idea of connecting, and I think Roundtable commissioners are plugged in, at a higher level to kind of what everybody's doing and are able to have that bird's eye view and are able to link resources with needs.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
I think that's a big contribution.
That's a big part of the Roundtable commissioner's job, is linking all of those needs. Agree Paul, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I think getting the units to discuss, or the unit commissioner and the roundtable commissioner get the unit to discuss what the problem is. 9 times out of 10, it's something that had happened before, they'd seen it before, and they knew of a way to get it corrected, or a phone call to make to get the means needed to assist the unit. So bring it out in the open is what could help the unit if they have a problem, an issue, or something of that matter. And when they keep it to themselves and try to fix it as a unit and not use the resources available through the unit commission, and roundtable commissioner, and the audience, that's where the problem escalates.
Right. Yeah. And the great thing about Roundtable is you have a huge wealth of knowledge. You know, if I asked a question like, hey, our unit is really struggling with fundraising, and I just can't get the parents and our scouts interested in selling popcorn or doing any kind of fundraising, what do you recommend? I know that every single person in this meeting is going to have a tip for me from their vast wealth of knowledge. And those kinds of things are what make the networking aspect of Roundtable so valuable, because you get not just one person's answer, but you can get 5 or 10 or 15 people, their different points of view and their different answers, and really help a unit address their needs and their questions. One thing it suggests here is if a Roundtable commissioner isn't quite sure what is needed, they can do a survey. Has anyone done a survey to see what units would like? Was it beneficial? Yeah, okay, great. Somewhat beneficial. Depends on the questions that you ask, perhaps, or how many questions. Okay. And unit commissioner suggestions include things like the unit service plan, a detailed unit health assessment, and even simple health assessments. So these are all things that can help Roundtable commissioners find out what units need, and then go ahead and use those as your presentations. At Roundtable, we provide hot topics every month, and we provide the Scouts BSA and the Cub Scout Committee provide breakout videos. But the reality is the most important thing to do is to meet the needs of your units. And so you can use those as a library of content and present those when you're best meeting the needs of your units. And then as things come up, you might need to add something in, something new. We know that youth protection and camping rules are changing in the fall. And so you might already be thinking, okay, I'm going to want to present this at Roundtable maybe in August or maybe in July. And so use the Roundtable support page as a library of content to help you meet the needs of your units in your districts and your councils. So are there any questions?
Oh, Maddie, I was going to say that I really enjoyed Christina's comment there. Especially the larger view, right? So we get a larger perspective, right? For example, just in this smaller settings with the units, right? If we have a need for, say, a shooting sports instructor, and the quick answer is no, we don't have anybody qualified for that or whatever, right? Now we're in the roundtable and we just bring up the question, hey, and you get to discover, the different people with different expertise that are maybe willing to help out and make, a shooting activity possible, right? So,
Right.
So I think that's the biggest advantage, right? The networking and discovering those experts.
Yeah.
Maddie,
Yeah, absolutely.
Something else I like is the fact that so I like is because of how big our council is, I guess once a quarter, we have a council-wide roundtable. So if you can't meet on your regular night with your own district, you can get a bigger audience to discuss things with a different night. And I found when I've been able to attend them, I found them very, very useful as well, because now you have a bigger pool to draw from.
Right. Yeah, our council roundtable is somewhat unique. I don't find a lot of councils that do it, but I highly recommend it because it is great to get the viewpoints of the different districts and to see scout leaders from our council that we don't often get to meet with monthly like we would with our district leaders. And so, yeah, a council roundtable can be very valuable. I've also found that people consider it to be more official. Do you think that's true, Alan, that people think it's more official, so we do get higher attendance at the council roundtables, and there's nothing wrong with that. So that always works out well. Are there any, we have 100 seconds. Any last questions before we go back to the main session? Great. Well,
Very,
thank you.
very
Yeah,
good
Alan.
comments. I just want to say thank you personally. I've enjoyed listening, but I keep making notes over here of what little ideas come. So
Great. Well, thank you everyone for being here from across the country and local. We appreciate your time and hope you had a good class. And I'm going to send you back to the main session.